was walking this labyrinth last week with some of the folks from RiverLink. We were talking about the fact that sometimes the train goes by as you're walking the labyrinth. So if you're really looking for a very peaceful, meditative situation, this may not be the best space. But my theory is when you walk the labyrinth, this is a metaphor for life. You're on a sacred path, and all kinds of things interrupt you on your sacred path. Things are loud and things are not what you expect, and that's part of the story too, and that's part of how we make our decisions and how we stay centered and guided on the path in the midst of whatever distractions are going by. I also like it because you wonder what in the world is going by you, and where have they come from and where have they gone, and how is that part of the whole sacred circle that we're in. My name's Laura Collins, and I'm a local clergy person and owner of a business called Living Rituals, and I was really happy to hook up with RiverLink to help with this today. Just a little bit about labyrinths. You can read, Dave has done a wonderful job creating a display over here about labyrinths. Their origins are sort of mysterious. They go back at least 4,500 years in history, but we think probably even longer than that. There's signs of them in every part of the world, different types of labyrinths. Certainly in the Southwest, the Native Americans in this country had labyrinths. One of the oldest remains of labyrinths that we know of is on the Isle of Crete, and it's 4,500 years old. The labyrinth is not a maze. There are no tricks. There are no dead ends. You can't get lost. Once you enter the path, it takes you to the center if you will stay on it. And once you've been in the center, it will carry you back into the world if you stay on it. So it's a guided path. There are many different ways to walk labyrinths, and there's a wonderful little guide over there about one way of walking in and walking out that you can read about. But really my idea of a labyrinth is, as I said before, it's just a metaphor. And by stepping inside this sacred space, you're choosing to put your own feet on a sacred path. And that becomes a metaphor for how you're choosing to live your life. You're choosing to walk on a sacred path. The circular idea, it is thought by some that the idea of labyrinths may have come from the lost art of sacred geometry, where the idea is that by creating certain shapes and numbers in architecture, you can actually create spaces where people find more calm and clarity. And I think many of us know this by walking into a place where we suddenly feel that calm and clarity just by being in the physical space. So labyrinths are a public and often outdoor part of that sacred geometry. But think about different religious traditions and the circles that you find in them. In Tibet, we've got the sand mandalas that are made by the monks. The lotus, cosmic wheels, the tree of life. You could probably name a million different ways that you have seen religious expressions in circles. So the circle itself is a very sacred space. Some of the different kinds of labyrinths are considered very womb-like. So you're entering the womb of God, or goddess, as I'm sure Byron would say to me. So what we've got today is several different clergy from different traditions who are going to help us bless this public space for the use of our whole community. And just as there are many different labyrinth traditions around the world, we're bringing many different local traditions here to bless this labyrinth. And we're going to start with Byron Ballard, who is a Wiccan high priestess at the Mother Goddess Temple. And Byron's going to get us going today.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I am of this place. I am so of this place that when all the leaves have fallen, you can see my house from where we stand. I am so of this place that the gray house you see over my right shoulder is the place where my mother was born.
Wow.
I am of this place. As you are of this place. The ancient people and some modern people saw time moving not the way this train moves, in a forward, progressive fashion. They saw time moving as a spiral, that time moved in and time moved out, so that we always can come back to a place to reclaim something lost. We can come back to a place to undo something we did, or to do something we left undone. We are in that place now. As Laura told you, labyrinths go far, far back into history. I'm a big fan of the Neolithic, personally. And the spirals that we see on the great necropolis at New Grange are part of a system of knowing how the world worked, of knowing how life worked. It was a visible and a physical way of acknowledging something that has no words. So we go from this place where the woodland people were, where the Cherokee were, where my ancestors worked in this mill, where we stand with a train going north and bounded on the other side by the third oldest river in the world going north. We stand here in this place as part of this place. And as part of my religious tradition, we set intentional space. And I'm going to call the quarters, I'm going to acknowledge the different directions to set a seal on what we're doing today. I do want to add one thing. I'm called in sometimes to do baby blessings, and I always have to laugh. We don't bless babies. Babies bless us. And it's the same with this labyrinth. It doesn't need any of us to bless it. You stand on holy ground because all ground is holy ground. So we come here for the labyrinth to bless us, so that we take that blessing out into the circles of our communities and our families and our kindred and our tribes, and so all are blessed. If you will turn now with me to the north. You know which way that is? Excellent. I invoke the powers of the north, by the earth that nurtures us, by the bones that give us form, by the deep and ancient force that moves the universe. Guardians and ancestors of the north, we welcome you. Now turn with me to the east. I invoke the powers of the east, by the air that sustains us, by the wings of our imagination, by the gentle breezes and fierce gales of our souls. Guardians of the east, we welcome you. And turn now with me to the south. I invoke the powers of the south, by the fire of life that burns within us, by lightning and lava, by the bonfires and hearths that mark the turning of the great wheel. Ancestors and guardians of the south, we welcome you. And now finally to the west. I invoke the powers of the west, by the waters that cover our planet, the rain from above us and the springs from below, the tears of our ancestors and the blood of our kindred. Guardians and ancestors of the west, we welcome you. And turn back to the center. And so our circle is set and our intention cast. Turn to your neighbor and say, blessed be.